One of those MIT people that sort of went to school there and never left. And you can tell by my hair color, that was quite a while ago. So I've done a lot of things. Most recently, I'm sort of the SIP guy and the communications architect for UC stuff. So, as Chad said, this is going to be a little bit different. People talk about doing old things in old ways, new things in new ways. This is sort of an example of doing old things in new ways. So I'm going to give you a little bit of MIT background because the history is sort of important, and then talk about a PaaS solution that we're working on. It's sort of a work in progress. I was hoping we'd be further along by the time of this conference, but there's always lawyers and product development and financial people that sort of slow you down with their little details. So some background about MIT and sort of the operations group and sort of things that are in our lineage. We've sort of always been, if you can't buy it, build it yourself. On the other hand, if you can buy it, don't bother building and go out and find something new and better to do with your time. We've always followed the standards. Whether we were one of the early ISDN adopters with a 5ESS, PBX. We were early into the SIP stuff as far as deploying things. Built things on our own using SIP Express Router early on, but moved on to sort of carrier grade production products to replace those. We always look for best of breed solutions, and we also try to keep things simple. So over the time, we sort of simplified the services we're offering and keep them sort of uniform, so everybody sort of gets the same thing. The problem at hand for us is we have one of our major telephone systems is a Cilantro system, and Cilantro was bought by Broadsoft. Broadsoft had a competing products. They discontinued the Cilantro system, and it's now end of support, and we're sort of on our own and at some risk. So the task at hand is how do you replace that? Looking at cloud services as an alternative, minimize the cost and the disruption to the users, and prepare for future services. So going back almost 10 years ago, when we started building out our voice over IP implementation, I originally got very interested in SIP, so I was the SIP guy. Everything on this slide says it's a SIP proxy. In reality, that's evolved over time. The two layers at the top, the external facing layer just became an SBC. We use Acme packets for that. The central routing layer, we're actually using SBC technology for that. And then down at the bottom are the systems that are user-facing and provide services to the users. And we saw that there may be multiple of those over time as we sort of were building things out. The other thing I wanted to point out is on the external stuff, I was very excited to attend the stir and shaken session yesterday, because even back 10 years ago we were talking about signing SIP invites and authenticating external users, and it's good to see that sort of stuff is happening. And then on the right side there were services like conferencing services, voicemail services that would be provided. So over time this is evolved as we've built things out. We do SIP trunking to the PSTN for PSTN access, for 911 access. That's on the top there with Acme Packet SBCs. Down at the bottom is the user layer. As I said, we have a Cilantro system that serves the majority of the telephones on campus, about 15,000 endpoints. We have a Cisco solution, which ironically serves mainly analog phones and things like elevators and lobbies. And on the right side, we have services. So Unity is a voicemail system. We have an auto attendant. We use WebEx for conferencing, and we use their cloud service, cloud connected audio service. So we SIP trunk to them for audio connectivity. So, as I said, the task that we are facing right now, or the challenge we're facing, is replacing one component of the system, the Cilantro system. And that's where sort of my adventures into exploring cloud services started. How many people use internet cloud service for their home telephone service? Anybody? Am I the only one? A few people. I mean, I suspect there are probably more people that just use cell phones for their home telephone service, and they've gotten rid of everything else. There's some reasons to, 911 for the babysitter and stuff, where you might want to have still home service. And there's a lot of stuff out there. I've used Teleax out of Denver for years. I recently moved to OnSIP because they have some sort of better provisioning for phones, better 911 options, that sort of thing. But even those services are really small and medium business services. They're aimed at resellers, not aimed at residential. So there's stuff out there. There's a lot of stuff out there, actually, and it's I think it's good stuff. But for large enterprises, while there are a lot of people that have products, and I talked to a lot of people, AT&T, other carriers, and they had a lot of products, but they were really small and medium business products also. If you had a large infrastructure, and in fact, one that had evolved over time and was already SIP-based, integrating their system into what you already had just seemed a huge challenge. If you were a greenfield deployment where you had an old iron PBX and you just had that and you were moving, there's probably some good alternatives today. So what were some of the issues? There were restrictions on what you could use for devices. We already had 15,000 Polycom phones. I've always hoped that we would never buy another hard desk phone to put on somebody's desk. That would be the last thing last telephone we would buy. We were interested in open standards. So SIP, while we have a lot of Polycom phones, we also have oddball little SIP things. Room conferencing systems, door entry systems where you get a directory and you click on somebody to have them let you in the building, that sort of things. So we wanted to support a lot of different devices. Some offerings were just, you buy our device, or you only buy this device, or you only buy this version of this device. Everything was bundled in with a lot of these services. So it's their 911. We have 911 sort of infrastructure built out with mobility so people can move their own phones, that sort of thing. Voicemail, we wanted to keep one voicemail system. A lot of the offerings came with their own voicemail system. You use that or you don't have anything. Lots of missing integration points. So it was very difficult to figure out how to connect one of these cloud services into your existing infrastructure. And then complex billing models. So pay for this feature, pay for that feature. We like to keep things simple. So we talked to a lot of people, or I talked to a lot of people, and didn't find any good fits. And one of the people we talked to was Broadsoft, and they bought Cilantro. We were a customer of theirs while they were still supporting that product, and we talked to them about what they could do for us. And they have an offering called BroadCloud, which is a cloud-based system, but it had all the same limitations that other people's offerings had. Voicemail was built in. We couldn't use our voicemail. 911, it was hard to integrate. So a lot of different issues. And in our conversations with them, we sort of got to the point where we walked into a meeting one day with them, and we basically sat down trying to figure out was there anything that worked? And they basically said, well, we've changed our mind. We think there's another type of service that would fit MIT's needs and fit a lot of other people's needs. And this is their what they're calling their broad cloud PaaS solution, platform solution. And basically what this is, it's you basically get a VM spun up, which is your own platform. It's dedicated to you. You do whatever you want with it. You have all the integration points that you would have if you bought your own premise-based system. So we're in discussions right now with sort of how to build this out. I was hoping by now we'd have a test implementation up and running, but that hasn't quite happened yet. So as I said, this includes sort of all the features, WebRTC features, all that, and you basically can use whatever you want. We will, two things in interconnecting to them. Our model for cloud services has been to build out our network to get closer to where the cloud services are. So we have our network has presence even in California to get close to AWS and other things. So we will build out our network to get to their data centers in Chicago and Texas, Dallas, and use SBCs on our side as an interface to them that allows us to pull off monitoring and testing, debugging information to our monitoring system so we can debug problems to identify where they are. And we'll tie to them, when it says MITnet at the top, so this ties in to all our existing services. So we will route locally to WebEx or to the PSTN out of this, or from the system to our other systems. So the connection at the top really isn't a PSTN connection, it's a connection back into our campus SIP infrastructure. One of the big challenges was not disrupting users. So we're going to try to make the user side as transparent as possible, trying to map features on the Polycom phones so they don't change, so that interface becomes the same dial plan they've been used to. We will present them with a different web portal for turning on call forwarding, sending features, and that sort of thing. That's not used by a lot of people, so we don't see that as a big issue. Again, not replacing the phones, was a big goal for us. We really didn't want to have to go out and replace the phone. The cost of the phones is one thing, but just the cost of going out and swapping them out, dealing with people, teaching them how to use a different phone, asking questions, was something we wanted to avoid. So again, we wanted something that we didn't have to build or maintain, something that can grow capacity. We don't have to worry about capacity planning. We can buy per seat cost. We're not good at maintaining systems at MIT. I mean, I mentioned SIP Express router. We still have the system that we were running 8-9 years ago. It's probably still running the same software version that it was running back then. So we wanted to get out of that business, no longer have to worry about updates, new releases, that sort of thing. We're big on the idea of getting everything in the package and using what we need today, but having the other stuff there available so we can use in the future. As I said, in the future, they have, as an example, a WebRTC client that we don't have any plans for today, but once we get this installed and everything moved, all the Polycom phones moved over, adding that should be very, very easy. I talked about disruption to the users. making that transparent. One of the big challenges here is shared call appearances between phones. Sort of a difficult thing to solve with SIP, and trying to get that to work is very important to us. Interested in controlling cost. Want predictable costs. Again, don't have to worry about scaling over time, adding capacity, adding services. And then all of this is we see as replacing the old stuff, getting it sort of out of the way so we don't have to worry about it anymore, leaving us free to worry about building and deploying and responding to demands for new services. So this is sort of get the old stuff out of the way, move it from stuff we have to worry about ourselves to stuff that somebody else can worry about. And that's about what I had to say. I'm certainly open for questions.
Yeah, questions. Why don't we jump over here?
Hi, thank you. Was it a cost reduction as well as you moved it or not?
No, I would not call it a cost reduction. I'm not good at sort of weighing the cost of running servers and that sort of thing. But I think we've seen over time huge cost reductions when we put in our 5ESS PBX, moving from Centrex. Big cost reduction, and that served us very well, over 20 years. And then the Cilantro system has served us also very well and been very inexpensive. What I've seen out there for costs, there are some people that are still going, oh, we can give you services from the cloud, for $30 a month for a phone. And we're sort of like, well, where'd this come from? That's Centrex pricing from 1990. And then I think things sort of settled down around $10 a seat for cloud services, and then, negotiate down from there. But there are people out there in that range. Internet 2, which provides some Net Plus services, a consortium of universities provides services to universities, has a service that I think is around $6 a seat. Doesn't include all the stuff that I talked about. I don't think it's actually is BroadSoft based in the background. It's run by Mitel, but I don't think it has all the video services and stuff that we're interested in deploying.
Well, we'll do Alan and Dean.
Great perspective. One of the things that I've putting myself in your shoes, I've seen has been sort of a challenge is when you move to the services in the cloud, you really lose control over the roadmap of the product and the service that you're getting. And I'm curious as how your organization, were you able to morph to that situation where you don't necessarily have control over it anymore, or how did you deal with that?
I think that gets into the category of you build it yourself or you buy what's out there. And I think we've used building ourselves as learning the technologies and seeing what uses are out there and what the university is looking for, faculty for teaching, for research, what they're looking for. So I think we've moved from that to, yes, take what you can buy in most cases, and don't have to worry about that. I spend most of my time worrying about integration of different pieces. So again, best of breed, what's the best video, what's the best conferencing solution, what's the best voicemail solution, and then sort of how to build it all together. So yes, I guess there's some lack of control, but it's not the lack of control if you go to somebody and you buy a huge monolithic solution that includes all these things, and you can't sort of choose the best pieces.
Normally, when platform as a service comes up in sort of this context of sort of unified comms or whatever, it usually implies doing some developer work to sort of, APIs to customize a particular case set of functions. Who's doing the sort of customization using this platform? Is it stuff you're doing, or Broadsoft's doing, or third parties? This essentially, it looks to me like configurable unified comms.
Yes. I think definitely we're not looking at building our own applications on that, though our sort of current model for the IT group at MIT is to build platforms for other people at the Institute to build on. So there may be things here that we will offer out to people that are building educational tools on. So MITx and edX with Harvard and other universities that are sort of building stuff. We see this as something we can offer them, but probably not do our own development. We're a very small operational group.
So in other words, this is almost like a sort of better set of controls and dashboards and APIs in front of broad cloud. Yeah, it essentially allows you, pick and choose what you want, if you want the 911 or you want this.
Yes. Yeah.
Very informative talk. Thanks for coming here and sharing. Thank you. So your clients for your service, these are desktop phones, and these are phones in conference rooms, basically?
So the majority of the endpoints
Yeah.
are Polycom desk phones, but I mean it's everything all over the place. As I said,
So your same clients, are they using collaboration tools like, I don't know what, Skype for Business, WebEx? Pick your favorite. What of your clients? Which of those tools are they using the most?
So WebEx has been very popular. Our WebEx service, it's sort of open to everybody at the university, so students get it. Researchers, faculty get it, administration gets it.
So have you found that people were using their Polycom phones for one reason or another? Now just everyone's on WebEx on their laptops. Is there a draw away? Is there a draw down in terms of your Polycom traffic?
Unfortunately, no. I mean, like I said, I don't see us investing heavily in that. But on the other hand, the number of phones keeps growing. Okay. Some of it is we're still replacing. We still have 750 ISDN phones or something like that. So we need to move those over and buy phones for that. We have some remote labs that we're putting on the system, so we need to buy phones for that. So there's still growth in the desk market. It's very strange because I don't think the phones get used very much. I mean, there are some places, procurement and medical and the medical department and that doctors and stuff that use the phone a lot. But a lot of places there's a phone that probably gets touched a few times a week. So, but WebEx still, I mean, it's still really screen sharing, audio conferencing, not a lot of video. We have Cisco Tandberg video systems that are used fairly heavily at the business school for remote presentations. So somebody from industry that's going to present to a class, that sort of thing. But not as much as you would think. But our goal is to be there and have things that when people decide they want them, we can support them.
Yeah, I actually have a follow-up question beyond the hard phones, I guess, the desk phones. I mean, do you see, is there a movement towards soft phones or web clients, that sort of thing? Is that also part of your?
Personally, I'm excited about the WebRTC stuff, and I'm hoping that in combination with people with hardware that has it's better echo cancellation, better microphones for rooms with bad acoustics and that sort of stuff, as sort of moving, making that sort of the natural way to communicate. So I think there will be movement in that direction. We actually, with our media lab, maybe 5 years ago, tried to move them to soft phones, tried to reduce the number of phones in the desk, offered them counterpath Berea as a soft client. Got some interest early on, but it sort of faded away, and we actually haven't deployed any of that
I guess
recently.
particularly interested in the media lab, I guess, of all places. But.
Yeah, you would think that that would be the place,
Yeah.
but you know, it's. I think Web RTC has, has huge promises, and the other thing is sort of the mobile market and sort of that loosening up, and voice over LTE and stuff, services sort of supplanting the traditional stuff, and I think that's starting to happen also.
All right. Any last questions? No? All right. Thank you, Dennis.
Thanks.
Yeah.